Whoa. There we go, baby. All right. Morning, folks. Give me 1 second here, then we got to go do what we do. Hell yeah. All right. Give me 1 second over here. Oh, there we go. What up, baby? ¿Cómo está usted? Dude, let's get to work. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure all these knuckleheads get in. Whoop. All right. Everybody ready to shred? Hey, cool. Let's go do what we do. All right, let me see. Share that screen. Bam, I got this thing. All right, we in the party. All right. Let me see what we got in here. Yo, Squee, what up, baby? Hey, man, long time no see. Cosmo, what's up, baby? How you doing? All right, man, let's go fucking do this, baby. All right. Hey, so we got a little bit of a gap up, and guys, give a second for everybody to kind of roll in. My guys are always 5 minutes late. Armando, ¿cómo está? Hey, so we got a little bit of a gap up this morning. We've had a nice 3-day pullback. You know, the play would have been really, if we had gapped down and kind of filled this, like we would have had a pretty sick long. Now we're into like a little bit of a tricky spot over here because, you know, we're going to suck out some of the range over here. And, you know, with MU earnings around the corner tomorrow, we'll have a little bit more of a tricky entry. But frankly, we are getting a little bit oversold in the last few days. And so we're into some supports here, but not huge support. You know, when you get this extended, like you really want to have like a deeper pullback to get these things going. So let's see what happens here. I'm not convinced that this, you know, necessarily holds today. Brandon, how you doing? But, well, you know, we got to respect the fact that we are into the bone zone over here, and we may have a little bit of a bounce day here, but it's not going to be without drama because we got MU earnings tomorrow, and so there's going to be a handful of things that are just going to be playing out. What are you guys all watching here? Yeah, you can see here. And yesterday was nasty. So we're kind of gapping up like right into a little bit of supply from yesterday. So what we're going to need to do, I wouldn't be surprised for us to kind of fake red roll here and then see what happens. You know, it's not going to be a linear thing. I would be shocked if we had like a gap and go day, which is like you just gap up and trend up all day. That's probably going to be, that's probably not in the cards, but we're going to have, you know, a potential for a little bit of a bounce. Now, the IWM is busting lower here too as you're stuck under resistance. So, and this is a big cluster F word anyways, right? So you don't have necessarily anything going on over here. The TLT is down a little bit here, but you can see here we've got a nice breakout that's been setting up in TLT. It has not poured over into the IWM at all, but yeah, I think you got a little bit of a trend brewing on this bad boy. Brendo, what up? So let's get back into this. So like if we're looking at the indexes, you know, the first thing everybody's concerned about is right the SMH because, you know, this is where all the money's been flowing. So we've had after this epic run, and we had a little bit of a rubber band short. We pulled back into the 20 SMA, and we're kind of on a short term, at least on a 5-day basis, triggering an oversold reading as we're getting down into the support. So if you look at the hourly chart, you know, the SMH, you're kind of right back into, you know, some key spots here. And then you have the 20 SMA here on the daily chart. So theoretically, hey, Mr. Brom, how you doing? Theoretically, right? This is something that should be, a decent level of support because you have come back about 22 points over here. Now, I would be shocked, like if you just like rip back into highs. Most likely, what's going to happen, and what the studies would show you when you have these kind of like big, powerful moves, is you end up chopping around here and build out a range for like a period of time. Not dissimilar to what happened from March to May, right? So if you see like the SMH doesn't just always go up, right? If you see in March, like we kind of topped out with this huge candle here, and it's a very similar type of setup. You had a candle complete outside the upper Bollinger Band, right? This huge extension. And so then you, boom, and you did have inevitably some bounces, but you just kind of ended up kind of goofing around into, right, a little bit of a sausage party for a handful of months before you re-broke out. And so if we're kind of using that as a basis and looking at the same level of extension, then this is also going to be probably, right, we can bounce today. There's no getting around that. But we're most likely, right, going to, bounce a little bit and pull back. And, right, we're going to back and fill this area. This extension for an index is huge, right? You're up about, over, 30, 40%. That's really not sustainable for long periods of time. So we've got this kind of extension happening. So I do think we bounce on this probably a little bit today. The key for this is going to be, we have MU earnings out tomorrow. And so 6-26. If MU blows it out and, right, they gap this thing up and you're in the 150s, 160s, or whatever, I think the implied move is 15 points. So, if you got 15 points out of this thing, then that's probably, you're going to have a few days of some hoot and nanny going on over here. So I think we'll keep an eye on that too. If you look at the hourly, there's a little bit of a lid on MU right here. And so, today, if you're day trading this, it's stuck under this, it's stuck under the bone zone on the hourly. And so it needs to kind of get over this. It's been just get rejected over here. So if we can do that, then, you got probably a few points of upside today. And you can see here on the daily, right? It's about 143 would set this bad boy up. And then, we'll see kind of like what's going on. I would not chase any gap up in these kind of names. Like they're gapping up a couple percent, but like you're into this kind of chop zone over here. So keep an eye on this one. You can see already good old, right? NVIDIA is already, should have added this into the freaking close, right? It was, I think, 116 after hours. Look at this thing. So it's already, this is the tricky part, right? So like you opened up at 114. Now you're at 122. Like you've used up a lot of range. And so a lot of times people will come in and try to bounce these kind of things. But like a lot of the action has been done in the pre-market. So you just don't have really that. You just don't got that juice that you need. So what you really need to, do is we'll see how the first pullback works, right? If we get a nice little happy-go-lucky pullback, and it starts to hold, then we can go in and say like, all right, this is going to be, this is going to be a little bit of something. Good. Mr. Brum, how you doing, baby? All right, so we got MU, we got NVIDIA. We'll keep an eye on these bad boys, and then lastly, let's keep an eye on Dell because it's sitting right on the 50-day moving average. So you can see this thing blew it out, right? They had some news out with Tesla, SMCI and Tesla, and then both SMCI and Dell just completely reversed. Now, if you look here, like you're getting right back into the support zone, right? This kind of zone of love that, frankly, should start to hold. So you got the 50 and then you got this price support over here. And so somewhere into this spot, I think you're going to get a nice thing. Now, look, if MU blows it out tomorrow, then, you're probably back and fill this thing into this spot over here. And, we'll, be starting to test some levels of resistance. I would check on Interactive Brokers, Samka. See, you should have borrows there. I mean, they were there yesterday. This is this stock's a widowmaker, right? So benchmark adjust nano, the price target at 39 from 15. This is probably the last gasp on this. I'd be pretty surprised if this thing did not roll over today. Check E-Trade then. So they've had good borrows of recent too. Yeah, let's add this bad boy. I think, guys, I think we're gonna have it. We're gonna have a play on this at some point today. There is usually a magic desk you can call too. Yeah, so you got to look at this. So you got $8, $9 from your 9 EMA on this one. We've got that's right, Mark Berard. You let people know that. We're doing the Lord's work over here. The Lord's work in the devil's playground. $9 from your 9 EMA. This one's going to roll today. This one's going to roll today. That's top of the list. This is actually probably a big trade. If you nail this, I mean, this is a 5-figure type of trade. We gotta take a shot. I mean, the whole day's busted if you don't take a shot at this one. And you got a 20% exhaustion gap, like you're in it right now. Let's take a look at the other gappers here, guys. So the indexes are benign, right? We're holding up into supports. There's not too much to read on this. We're still primary trend is up. Short-term trends are higher too. We're in some levels of support. They won't be without drama, but we're in there. Could we use a deeper pullback? 100%. Will we get one? We never know, right? So just keep an eye on these levels here. What you don't want to see is, right, the Qs get dusted under yesterday's low. That's when you're going to have to start, making some decisions. If that happens, then you're going to fill this gap and probably take it down into the 20-day moving average, which is, totally fine, but it's just going to require like a little bit more drama. Now let's take a look at the earnings plays. I want to try to find a couple offshoots of things that, we don't have to necessarily watch the indexes amount so much. So I did see this Regis Corp. I don't know what this company does. I'm not familiar with it. What are you going to do with this bad boy? This is like kind of one of those things where you can kind of scalp this thing around, but it does leave you open to like one big nasty dump. So Regis stock doubles at the secure $105 million loan, $25 million credit card. Yeah, it's a nice thing. You can see, and this is a pump and dump stock. So if you just scroll back, this thing was $300, $400, $900, right? So what does this thing do? Its whole purpose is basically just to go down. Now for the day, can you trade this? Sure. A lot of times these turds, like, I didn't think MLGO would have much in it. And then lo and behold, right, yesterday, right, you had this like just huge, this huge fucking run. Things will surprise you. You had 133 million shares in volume on this, right? And probably not a single person held for more than 10 minutes. And so you just kind of rotating these floats over. Can the MLGO have a little bit of fun too? Sure, right? But it is also used up a significant amount of the range, right? You're already at 200%. So what you do need to do is like just pull back a little bit and then see kind of like what's going on. I ain't touching it, right? I ain't touching it. I like, hey, Casey, what up, baby? I ain't touching it. I like my balls to be in place. Dude, I lost so much money on shit like this. Like I've lost money trying to short these things, and I've definitely lost a lot of money trying to long these things. My issue on these kind of things, why I personally can't trade them is, I can't stop myself from just trying to rip like 10,000 shares of something like this, and then you inevitably, when you get some like big fucking, death candle, then you're really you're in some dark places. You have 5,000, 10,000 shares or something like this, and you get the death candle. I mean, you're in a dark place. You're in a dark place. I mean, you're eating ice cream. You're getting a Jets pizza. You're watching the Rachel McAdams movies. You're watching The Notebook. You're watching The Vow. Maybe The Time Traveler's Wife. You know, she's oddly got a nice little catalog. Rachel McAdams has been in 2 time traveling movies in the same year, which is, you know, hard to do. I mean, you name me one actress that has the balls to do 2 time travel romance movies in 1 year. Just Rachel McAdams, baby. Just Rachel McAdams. So that's like, you know, when you got something like that, you're in a good spot. I mean, that's a good God-fearing Christian American woman, man. That's a good God-fearing Christian American woman. Somebody to really idolize right there. So leave this thing alone. There's other things to do, you know, VICN junk. Yo, so this we can get behind. I don't know. NVOX wins contract to provide silicone batteries for mixed reality headsets. You know, oddly, I sent Rachel McAdams. My wife is sleeping here, but like, you know, before I met her a few years ago, I had found out Rachel McAdams was single. And so I sent her a message on Instagram. And I said, hey, I really like your time traveling movies. You know, I'm also single and without child. And, you know, maybe we can come together. And she didn't really reply back to me. So I never really saw her. And I can't watch her movies anymore. But I still am a fan. I'm still a fan. She hurt my feelings. No getting around that. But I'm a fan. Now, this NVOX, this we can get behind, though. All right. So you got award a contract from unnamed California tech company to provide silicon batteries and packs for mixed reality headsets. Don't know what that means. But you also get a one-time payment for tooling. You gotta, you know, this, and the reason I like this one, you know, this stock has a history of kind of making these random pops on like just like weird news. You know, it always goes from 6 to 20, 6 to 20. And you got to break out here. You already got 1 million shares in volume. Like this is probably something worth day trading over here. Let's add this one. You got enough liquidity, you know, even on its off days, it's doing 6, 7, 10 million. So let's add that one. Nano. You should be able to get borrows on that. Let me fucking call done. I think E-Trade had him earlier. I know, Katie. That's what I was thinking. All right, let's keep going here. Let's not get too distracted. All right, junk. Hold on here. I got to reboot this TC2000. Give me 1 second. Now, let's just take a look. So if you see here on the economic side of things, Chicago Fed activity, Red Book sales, these are all nothing burgers. House price index, nothing. Money supply, nothing. 4-week bill announcement. So we have a really quiet week on the economic side. I think that's going to lead to, you know, at least some cleaner trading. You know, you don't got to worry about all the double lotsies and stuff. We do got a couple Fed speakers, but, you know, Lisa Cook and Michelle Bowman, those aren't the, you know, it's those 2 old guys that really always goose everything going. These ladies, they're nice. They're, you know, they usually don't say much. Let's take a look at setting 2 in a second. You know, I wonder if that's the, you know, an exhaustion gap today. Pre-market data, got crude, blah, 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 blah. Shareholder meetings, you can see here. Top analyst calls, nothing. Guys, this is like the sweet spot of just like the slow summer period before earnings season starts. And so you're not going to have, for about 2 weeks, you're going to have a little bit of a dead zone, you know, in the markets here. And you can see here, you got nothing. Some IPOs. These are junk IPOs too. As insider purchases, nothing, right? So Any good upgrades? Gap got an upgrade. Not really sure on that one either. It's popping a little bit, about 5%. Net. That's had a nice chart on it too. I don't know how a neutral gets this thing gapping up, but it is doing it. SC, chunk. Yeah, so this one, has got all sorts of, nastiness on it. Let's take a look and see what this setting is doing. So hold on here. So if you look at old setting, it's been down. It was $50 just a couple days ago. Yeah. So now these goofballs are diluting in the teeth of like this nasty dump. All the solar companies have been getting hit because of the interest rates and all this kind of stuff. But look at this. We're down. It said it may not be collected 11 million. It is owed by P&M Electric 11 million. Who gives a shit? Boom. Can I guarantee continue making the brownie for the road? I wouldn't read too much into this. So yeah, they're diluting. I'm not sure this is a short today, and I'll tell you why. When you have like a big base, say you were just basing out like over here, right? And you're just going sideways for a period of time, and then like you announce some news and it's fresh. All of the sudden, right, you get this like boom and the follow through. But what happens is if you're already cruising down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days out of 9, if you're already just drifting lower and lower, like 9 days in a row, and then you announce some kind of offering or some kind of shitty news, a lot of that is baked in. And so this actually may be the exhaustion gap to the exhaustion gap to actually flip this thing long. Not an easy setup. Probably a stay away for me. HIMS does look okay. You're sitting on the 20-day moving average like a lot of stocks. I'd like a deeper pullback, but you may not get it. All right, let's take a look and see what else we got here on the downside. Yeah, not many PR plays. It's a dead dog out there. Look at all this junk. There's like really nothing moving around the pre-market. Good, that's fine. So let's dig back into the watch list here. So you got a 0.5% gap in the QQQs. This is the sweet spot, 476. 476.50 is our sweet spot on this bad boy to get this party going. If we start to break over it, let's see if we can kind of squeeze this thing a little bit higher. We are on a short-term 5-minute basis, oversold. I would be shocked if we just rip it like the first candle. It can happen, but most likely there's going to be some drama that comes into this. Some of this gap is just based on NVIDIA gapping up 3% already. It's kind of lifting up the indexes here a little bit, and of course with NVIDIA, if it looks just like the Qs. You've got a spot here, if you get over 122.20, right, you might squeeze out a little bit, but it's not going to do it without some drama. If you look here, the chart's a little bit of a butterface, right? Like it looks good from afar, right? Looks good from afar, but when you get up close, right, you're going to have to squint your eyes a little. I think that, the play on this, like, if you're trying to look, on a little bit longer, you need to kind of remount these to kind of get this thing back. But most likely, my guess is that, you pull, then you pop up and you back and fill this area for a period of time before you get to jiggy. Yeah, I think it's just, man, that's a weird spot. MU. Yeah, you got a squeeze zone. The squeeze zone on this will be 143. If you wanna try this thing before its earnings, you think you're gonna get a pre-earning squeeze, you want to come in like at 143, 3, and you're going to be in for, man, you're going to be in for a good shot over here. Hey, Samka, E-Trade has those borrows, by the way. Let me check MNKD for you. Yeah, I think you can roll with this. Like, you got a breakout over here. Not my exact type of play because it's a little bit of a grinder, but I ain't opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it. All right, now let's get into the watch list here. I think we've got some good stocks that started to run yesterday that we need to pay attention to. A firm had some news out yesterday, and you got a nice week open on this, only about 1% of a gap down. I think this is a stock that we can roll. This is a nice looking stock that we can roll for a red to green. Let's add this. Let's add this to the list. I think you got a spot on this one. You know, this one and UPST were holding up yesterday, but I like the location of this one better. You know, you had UPST with a really nice push into the close also. So I think these two are kind of they're showing a little bit of a sign of some bottoming here. You know, this was a nice push on this bad boy. Look at that thing. UPST's looking good. Affirm. I think we want to add that. The second one I want to add, so Chewy came out of its flag yesterday. Let me get rid of all these lines. Looks like I got a penis fetish. Got so much stuff going on. See, coming out of this flag over here, you had a really nice trend day on this. You got a flat open on this. And so, you know, a chart this kind of reminds me, there's similar prices, of course, but it has that similar look to like HIMS when HIMS started making a run where, like, you know, you had the big gap up on earnings. You know, you had the big gap up on the earnings or the news. This was they started doing the Ozempic, right? And you pulled back, and then, right, you got that big grind higher. You know, I feel like Chewy's starting to get that, right? You had this big pull, and now the grind is starting here. And if you look on an overall, like, longer term basis, you do have a big breakout that's like, as long as this 25 holds, you've got yourself a pretty good spot to roll with this. So I'd watch any pullbacks on this one. This one is, you know, a day trader, but frankly, if you get a location on this, you know, after it kind of marinates a little bit, I wouldn't be opposed to even trying to, you know, do a little bit of a swing if you can time it, you know, if you can time it with the general market. That looks pretty good. Now, another one that I want to roll in for a potential red to green today. So you finally came out of range on this CVNA. It's been coiling up since the 1st of May. So you got this just kind of grinding down, finally getting everything tight. So see how you got your 9 EMA just kind of pushing up under it. So now you've got this nice breakout that happened yesterday. It had good range yesterday. Not a crazy amount of volume, about 5 million shares, but enough to do a little bit of a damage. And now you had a trend day on this thing. So you got a week open on this one. I think this is also a candidate. So you got a week open on this one. So if it goes red to green and takes out kind of this pre-market high and yesterday's high, you've got a sweet spot right there in between all these things. Dude, you're going to have yourself, you know, we could have ourselves a little bit of upside. The earnings are not for about 3 more weeks. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see it kind of marinate its way into this 130 mark, you know, into the pre-earnings before it makes a decision, right? And it typically likes to have a big base before it gaps up, big base before it gaps up. That's what it's been doing the last few earnings. So let's see if we can kind of build out this base here and then probably you see what happens a little bit after that. Love the overall look of it. GEV, not the sexiest of names. You wouldn't think that this stock has anything, but if you look here, it's got an $8 ATR. So that's your average true range, right? It's got an $8 ATR. It moves about 5% a day, which is still, I mean, that's really good also. So you have actually a couple things going for it. It's GE, so you think it's boring. But we have a flat top breakout that's over there, and this is an IPO stock. Guys, stocks that are IPOs that break out tend to really have a little bit more oomph in them to get going. So you've got a lot of potential. If this breaks out, you're going to see probably 190, 200 really, really quickly on this, and it's got a good enough it's got a good ATR on it. So I think we can roll with that. What the heck? Oh, yeah. That's a good looker right there. Now, look, if we need some shorts, you got a bear flag. I got 3 shorts that I really like. I like Snow for the bear flag short if we need it. All right. I like W on all pops. It needs to pop up a little bit. You can't chase it down. But W on all pops for potential short and get this thing down into the breakdown. And then, fuck, this 99E, but it better not roll. This is the one. This is the one. Yeah, this thing is rubber band short requires a handful of things. Candle completely outside the upper Bollinger Band. 80 plus stochastics, usually closer to 90, right? And then you want to see that exhaustion gap. And then the big thing is, just for common sense purposes, right? If you can fit 2 thumbs between where price is and the 9 EMA is on the daily chart, then you're probably getting a little bit extended. So you have all of these things going for it. Dude, we're gonna be ready to party. I like the overall look of this. It's got a good spot on this. E-Trade had borrows this morning, or just when I just last checked. You should be able to find them all over the place, unless you're Samka and you're on some blackball list. CCL just announced some news out that they just announced their earnings out here too. I would add this to the watch list. You've got a decent enough spot on this. Like if you see here on the daily, don't chase it at the open because it's a little bit of a thicker stock. But if you see here, you've got you got a happy-go-lucky level right there. I think that's probably a 6 windows worthy. Woo! Hey, I'm going to add one last one for you guys. We were messing around with this yesterday, had a good bounce. Apple is starting to pull back after the big all-time high breakout. You're starting to pull back into the bone zone. It did reverse over a little bit yesterday, but I'm thinking as long as this kind of level holds, you're going to start curling your way back over here. It's slow as a dog in terms of ATR, only 3%. You got to trade the options on it. But the options, if you see the setup, I'd go with maybe the 210 or 212 calls, and they'll move pretty good. And last one. If it comes out of this flag here, this SMAR, you should come into this 11 spot. It's setting up here, but it's been a little bit of a grinder. I like the overall look of this thing. Yes, 4 o'clock. I'll be on 4 o'clock. I'll be on the tube with Paul. Paul's my mentor. He runs our swing trading service. We'll be talking some shop. We'll be, we'll be doing some things. We'll be talking about some swing trading, the markets, all sorts of stuff, things that are working in this market right now, things that, we kind of expect going into the fall with the big election. Yeah, I didn't see anything just yet, but I'm being lazy. Now let's get back into some of these just gappers here real quick. I want you to add this ENVX. We got NNE for the short, ENVX for the long. I'd leave all these alone. Good. Hey, Tone, come back, baby. We're in it all day. You know, we've been doing options, futures, all sorts of stuff. You know, we got Levi just crushing on the futures and options side. There's been a lot of fun stuff to trade. Good, good, good. All right, guys. Be good. I'll be in the Discord room the rest of the day doing the Lord's work. I love you.